The first thing that actually got me annoyed, right, is that Guyana was in a kind of state of a dictatorship. Because when I came in through the airport, I got harassed immediately. They took me down because I brought in some currency in the country. I wasn't declared. I think it was in excess of 200 Guyana dollars. At the point in time, you couldn't have it. So I bought it in French Guyana. And it took me into police custody and took up my pictures and took up my handprints and footprints and so on. And then I was really annoyed about it. So it was 5 years that I was out of the country. And then the same year was the year of the referendum. This kind of referendum subsequently ushered in the infamous People's Constitution, which I felt was always responsible for the assassination of Walter Rodney. So I became involved in it in a way that I didn't even expect. I met with Walter, for the very first time in 1978. And he struck me as being a dynamic personality, the kind of person who could have elucidated the Guyanese struggle in the context like I saw it in Latin America, like traveling in Latin America. I saw they had Strasno, right, in Paraguay at the point in time. And Bolivia was going through a similar crisis. I was in Peru at the same time. Pinochet was in Chile, and I was traveling through Latin America and gaining these experiences of people fighting for liberation. And here it was that a dictatorship was being foisted upon the people, similar of the type in Latin America. So, but the equation is that here in Guyana, in an English-speaking country, right, with no prior history like Latin America, where they had these latifundis and existing and the people, these indigenous people and so on, the kind of repression that they had going on, was something was quite different. Is that here it is that a man was going to accede and become a dictator via constitution, right? And there was a very peculiar trend that has remained in Guyana because the Guyana constitution, which Walter Rodney has seen, right, that it would become a dilemma in Guyanese context, that it would have been a constitutional dictatorship, and it was being very difficult for people to understand it because here it was that the opposition political parties themselves were a part of this conspiracy, and it is still the same situation that is responsible for the Guyana situation because it's fraud, right? The constitution was imposed upon the Guyanese nation, right, via the rigged referendum in 1978, which Walter stood and strongly opposed. Now, the next thing about Walter Rodney, which shows a peculiar breakaway from the nature of the Guyanese politics as it was from the 60s and 70s, was his solidarity with Arnold Rampersad, who was a PAP activist. Remember, then he broke ranks and came out and said, look, man, he's an Indian brother, but his struggle is not a race struggle, his struggle is a class struggle. And he came out and supported him, right? And they gave him a lot of credit, as a national leader within the country. Walter was a very simple person, He was, to me, occasionally he would come down in the ghetto, in the East Rumpelin areas and Albaistong area, right? And he had a very simple way in which he could elucidate the struggle to the common, ordinary people, in which he can, he was from the working class, but it's a man who had become a professional through academia, right? But he remained a member of the working class, and so it was easy for him to reach out to him. Now, Walter had one way in which he used to say that you got to see with the eyes of the people, right? Hear with the ears of the people and speak with the mouth of the people, and this was some very simple ways. He was quite humane, to the ordinary people, and he felt for the ordinary people, the sufferings of the people were going through, He could have done like any other person. He probably could have left and gone outside, or is living somewhere else and lived with some fantastic salary or something. But he had chosen to stay in Guyana because he saw the impasse, the conditions under which Guyanese would have experienced had this constitution, which is foisted upon the Guyanese people until today, right, would have done to the nation because it has resulted in the dehumanization of the population and an authoritarian state. Guyana will not come out of it unless the constitution is changed, and Walter Rodney will continue to live. There was an aberration, People were hog-tied. They were looking at this thing from a racial perspective, right? Whereas the race issue, right, the politicians are very skillfully camouflaged, right? And Walter vividly exposed it to the people, the nature of the state itself, and this is why he was dangerous in this context. And even today's Guyanese society, they still have this racial polarization that masks, right, and disguises the true nature of the Guyanese society, which is a class society. My work, right, my works deal with philosophy and history, and the class struggle too at the same time, because I did some work on the study of Guyanese history from the year, dealing mainly with the 19th century and 20th century and 24th century, right? To show the development of the Guyanese working class struggle too, right? From the times of the, after the emancipation and the indentureship period. And then I looked in depth at the post-emancipation period and the post-indentureship period to show the, like for instance in 1917 and 1921 and in 1924 periods, the development of the working class in which they were struggling against the plantocracy, and at the same time they had in 1928 they had also the suspension of the constitution, which has shown, right, which also gave birth to the trade union movement. But there was during this period a level of development of class consciousness in the Guyanese context. And furthermore, by the time 1948, 1953, you saw this accelerated in which the working people of the country, right, came together when the franchise was extended to be able to attain political power at a point in time. So Guyana was a very high point in 1953 in terms of the working class struggle. And again, upon the arrival of Walter Rodney on the scene again, to elucidate and make clear to the people that this is a people's struggle, right? And society has social stratification. It's not a race, it's people telling you, right? Because watch it, your income that's being generational, watch it, the affluential people, look how things are happening, how you're being beguiled and fooled by the politicians, you know. But in my work, right, I try to bring these things out too at the same time. Look at the nature of the Guyanese struggle, you know, and also I did some work upon the 500 years of resistance against European cultural imposition that came in 1992, from 1492 to 1992. And I looked at 500 years in which the region were fighting back against European cultural imposition in terms of European art forms. Now, I didn't go to any no academy, even though I have a tertiary knowledge, right? Tertiary education. I didn't go and study art because I'm completely opposed to European concept of art. I felt it's a stolen legacy, right? That they stole from those people in Asia, Africa, and the Americas and concocted and brought together. So I decided to delve down to the original source, which is pre-Columbian art forms within the region itself, to incorporate a method to use in the art forms. So the 500 years of resistance showed that people were strongly, right, resisting Europeans' concepts of art and European aesthetics and forms, art forms. He finds it difficult, right? Because this constitution that we have, right? You know, it's all the powers are centralized in the hands of the executive, right? And the people are powerless. Now, when we say that power, right, corrupts, absolute power corrupts, but powerlessness equally corrupts at the same time. And this is what happening in the Guyana situation. It's a tricky situation. It's led to the dehumanization of the population. This monument was built in 1995 on the 15th anniversary, commemorating the 15th anniversary of the assassination of Walter Rodney. This is the work. It's a long time. You see how it is? It's a monument of national unity, you know. It has all the various symbols of all the different ethnic groups, you know, that cultural groups, right? This part is dedicated, this one side is dedicated to the pre-Columbian, the Americas. The other part, Africa here. You will see Jab and his Imperial Majesty and his lions. And this is part of the usually felicitation in the emancipation period and so on. And then you see the Star of David and the Hindu symbol and the cross. And this side deals with the Asian part of it, right? With the mosque and again it's cheaper, right? And some African symbols inside the Asian symbols that did on this part, right? And the other section on here deals with the Guyana situation. Some of the architectures, you know, you have up there the yin and yang symbol, you have a Shinto symbol, You have a tribal symbols, and this part here, right, showing Guyana coming out of a situation from behind the Union Jack, strong, triumphant people coming out. Right now, this monument is falling into bad times as such, right? Because it's a monument that represents national unity, and if anybody talks about national unity and talk about national cohesion, it should have been revered, kept in the, you know. When I thought I was getting a place in which to locate it, I never felt that it would have been back here, you know. And I spent a lot of money to dedicate this thing. This money came out of my pocket, you know. Nothing came out of the government pocket to do this thing, right? This is a private initiative of a person, and dedicated to the memory of Walter Rodney. Yes, Pops, right? He did like art a lot. You know, he built, even though he may have a negative part to him, right? There's a positive part in people, right? He contributed a lot to the arts. That's why today the Castellani House can be able to house a collection of work that were acquired during the PNC regime or the Burnham regime as such, right? So, I mean, when you look at the negative aspect of it, right, there's a positive aspect. Just like people themselves, right, having both negative and positive. But at times, right, the negative aspect do outweigh the positive aspect in people. And sometimes people manage to control the negative aspect of them. And you see the superb brilliance of a positive person, right, emerging out of it, like sun coming up behind a big cloud. So I figured that my stay in Guyana would have done something, you know. I tried to do something in the creative arts, you know, by promoting the whole concept. And we had this art exhibition of unity and diversity. We had exhibitions on conflict resolution. You know, we had exhibitions on the dynamics of the creative arts, you know. And then we have people are leaving because they're looking for, you know, greener fields, and not only greener fields at the same time, you know, is that out here it's difficult to express yourself because things are difficult to get by. The kind of arts, right? You know, I find it difficult to understand to the government bringing up characters. They didn't give no sustenance to the people themselves, the artists themselves, you know, being wandering around as trying out people, you know, to put it the way, meaning no insult to the artists themselves, you know, but they haven't given anything to the artists over the years.